Let's first talk about the decision to sell our product as is or process it further. In this example, we have Whaler Incorporated. They produce toddler and child-size furniture. The following information is available for its arts and crafts table for kids. Per unit data for an unpainted, unassembled version is as follows. The selling price for this version of the table is $25. The variable costs incurred to produce the table are $12, and the fixed costs are $8. All of this information is on a per unit basis. Whaler managers are considering a completely finished version of its table. In other words, assembled and painted colors. Managers estimate that the painting and assembling would incur per unit variable costs of $9 and per unit fixed costs of $2. The completely finished version of the table could be sold for $35 per unit. So now let's compare the two versions of the table. We are faced with two decisions: whether we sell as is, and that is the existing version of the table, or we process further, and that is finish the assembled and painted version of the table. The revenues under each of these different decisions are $25 if we sell the unfinished version of the table, and $35 if we sell the fully processed one, the assembled and painted version. The variable costs per unit, if we were to continue to sell the unassembled version, are $12. We had an additional incremental variable cost of $9 per unit if we were to paint and assemble it. So that would make a total of $21 per table in the form of variable costs. In fixed costs, we were told that is $8 per unit to sell the unfinished version, and an incremental amount of $2 to sell the finished version. So that totals $10 per unit on a fixed cost basis. The net income on a per unit basis for the original version of the table is $5. And the net income for the processed version of the table is $4. So in this case, it's not a good decision from a financial perspective to process the table further. We are making more money on a per unit basis for the unassembled, unpainted version of the table than we would if we were to finish it and assemble it. This assumes that the revenues and cost information are all accurate, but from a financial perspective, relying on these estimates, it's a poor decision. Now, in this example, I wanted to show that fixed costs are not automatically irrelevant. The additional $2 per unit of fixed costs that would be incurred to assemble and paint the table are different depending on the decision alternative. That $2 per unit is not spent if we sell as is, and it is if we process it further. So ultimately the takeaway here is, just because you see a fixed cost and a fixed cost per unit does not mean you automatically deem it irrelevant and ignore it for your analysis. Sometimes those costs are incremental as well.